the new president, Milei, has done several things since we've talked about this last, including he gave a talk yesterday at the signing of some new bills that radically transforms the country. And most importantly, I believe this sets up a template. It sets up an example for the rest of the world to follow. And so while it's easy to sort of get discouraged by things that are happening, like how the United States is falling into authoritarianism by, trying to get rid of a democratically, the democratically elected leader, or not even elected at this point, but the front runner in the next democratic election, or how Europe is putting in censorship policies onto their internet to make them basically like China with a great firewall. Well, it's easy to be discouraged by that. We can see other bright spots, and so we want to hang on to that. And what am I talking about specifically? So again, Argentina elected a new president, President Milei. Now, one thing that shocks me about this, but also gives me hope, is I always believed that once you have a democracy, which is mob rule, once 51% or more is able to vote themselves more things, they will continue to do that. I mean, why would they ever vote to get less things? If you could vote, instead of getting $2,000 a month, if you could vote yourself $3,000 a month, why wouldn't you? I'll take the free money. And if you now got $3,000 a month, why would you vote to go back down to $2,000 or $1,000? And of course you wouldn't. And so that's sort of the thought process there, if you understand sort of these incentives. But here we have Argentina elect a president who ran on a campaign to basically get rid of all that, to shrink the size of the government and get rid of all these government handouts, all these government subsidies, and all these things that the people wanted. So I never thought this would be able to happen. Now, what happens is, unfortunately with human nature, is that we only move and react when pain gets high enough. It's why I believe in going to the chiropractor. I believe in the importance of having a structurally correct spine so I don't impinge on my nerves, things like that, but yet I don't typically go until I'm in pain. And I might be in a little bit of pain and I might not go. If I'm in enough pain, I'll go right now, right? And so we only move when there's enough pain. Sometimes we have to hit rock bottom. And maybe Argentina hit the rock bottom. Maybe that was rock bottom, and maybe the United States is a long way from rock bottom. Argentina's been at rock bottom for years, probably. We'll talk about some of that here in a minute. But he gave a talk that I wanted to play some of it for you, but it was in Spanish, and I had to read the transcription of it, and I wasn't able to get it played. I know with AI, we can probably do it where I could get it transcribed and you could listen to it, but let me just tell you some of the pieces that I heard him talk about that really surprised me. So the first thing is he talked about, well, before we talk about that, let's talk about what he's actually done. No, we'll talk about what he did. So he basically, in this speech that he gave as he was signing this bill, which I'll tell you what it was, he talked about what he was doing to change. More specifically, he talked about the problems that he's there to solve. And what I was shocked by, what I was very pleased by, is he seemingly identified the problem very, very well, very, very specifically. And what do I mean by that? He basically said that what we have been suffering from in Argentina is, he calls them all, socialism, communism, fascism, authoritarianism, and all of these are collectivism. You see, so what happens, what we have today in legacy media and so forth, is they try to say that, oh, Donald Trump or whatever, these extreme far rights are fascist, extreme far right, like Trump is fascist. And then we have the socialists, the Squad, the Bernie Sanders, the AOCs, they're socialists. So socialism is left and fascism is hard right, but and they're trying to draw this as distinction, sort of this divide and conquer. But Milei says, no, all of that is the same. All of that is collectivist. And he said those collectivists collectively think that the state is greater than the sum of the people. You see, there is no such thing as a state. There is you and I, there is we the people. You and I have God-given rights, as is laid out in the Constitution of the United States, inalienable God-given rights, a right to pursue life, liberty, and property, or happiness, as it's said today. And those are rights that were given to us by a creator, not by man. And now we have the right to those, and I have the right to defend my right to life, liberty, and property. And collectively, you and I as neighbors could collectively defend our right to life, liberty, and property. And collectively as a city, we could come together to protect our right to those things. But there is no city, there is no state. There's us that come together to collectively work on things, but there is no state. And he says these collectivists think that the state is greater than the people, but that's not the case. Remember, the government in the United States is of the people, by the people, for the people. Today, we have these Elizabeth Warrens, and they're saying that they want to push policies that the people don't want because they know better, a technocrat. They're the expert. They know better. The state knows better. And he says, no, the state doesn't. He says that the state thinks that they're God. They know better. They can plan the minutia. They want to plan the minutia. They think they can plan the minutia, every detail of everybody's life in Argentina. But it is about Argentina. It's about the rest of the world. He goes on to say that, this being the problem, that they can control that. And he says, in free countries, like in America, in the land of the free, you are free to do everything and anything unless there's a law prohibiting you from doing the thing. But in Argentina, and what we're starting to see in the West and the United States as well, but he says in Argentina, you're not free to do anything unless you've been given specific permission to do it. See the difference there? In Argentina, there's so many rules, so many laws, so many regulations that you cannot do anything without permission. Now, in America, in the land of the free, where I live, you can't even go have a birthday party for your kid in the park without getting a permit. And not only do you have to get a permit, if you wanted to have balloons there or somebody comes serve food, you have to use one of the approved vendors. Sounds sort of like Argentina. So we're not free to just go have a birthday party for my kid in the park. No, I have to get permission. And this is what Milei is talking about. And he was able to identify this so articulately. It's also the point that I made in my book, The Uncommunist Manifesto. Highly recommend you read this because we make the exact same book. All politics is collectivist. And it's in stark contrast or in opposition to the individual, which is you and I. Now, a couple of things that he did, just to talk about that real quickly. A lot of things, but he's eliminated like half of the government. All of these ministries of fill in the blank, he's just gotten rid of them. He went around on his campaign trail with a chainsaw. He's eliminated about half of the government. He's gotten rid of over 380,000 regulations. 380,000 regulations. Now, when Donald Trump ran, he ran on a campaign. I think his promise was to get rid of 3 regulations for every new one that got enacted. I believe he actually beat that. But Milei just went in and said, hold my beer. Here's 380,000 that I'm getting rid of right now. He's repealed all types of laws that are holding things back. Rental laws, supply laws, gondola laws, national purchase laws, price fixing, trade promotion laws, industrial promotion laws, state company laws, transformation of state companies into public companies, modernization of labor regimes, and on and on and on. Basically, it's back to sort of like the quote from Ayn Rand's book, Atlas Shrugged. When you have to get permission from men who produce nothing. And in Argentina, you couldn't do anything without producing nothing. He has seen the problem clearly. He's solving the problem clearly. I applaud it, and I want to continue to talk about it because I think this is the greatest experiment in the world going on today that fills me with hope. Hopefully it fills you with hope, and hopefully it leads the rest of the world by example. He also passed a rule down there that people could use whatever money they want, including Bitcoin. Similar to what happened in El Salvador. El Salvador made Bitcoin legal tender, so you can use dollars there. You can also use Bitcoin there. And in Argentina, Milei also said you could use Bitcoin if you want. Why wouldn't you be able to? I mean, in a free country, you should be able to use whatever money you want. I don't know if you have to pass a law for that, but I think it's pretty amazing.